Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Bradler.
I was going to start by saying go blue.
Chris?
Yeah.
It's the game week, bro. It's the game week. We can talk about it all we want.
I'm very excited about that. I feel like it's kind of been like a faux pas to sort of bring it up. Like, you got to take it 1 week at a time. You can't look ahead. And then come to find out during the press conference today, Jim Harbaugh saying that, yeah, we've been planning for Ohio all year. Pretty much every week we plan for them, spend a lot of time thinking about them. So
wait, you mean to tell me during the year when Michigan was playing Penn State, Iowa, Maryland, they were watching film on Ohio State?
I know.
What?
It's crazy. It's unbelievable.
And oh, damn it.
You see, that's what happens when that's at the back of when it's at the bottom of the list.
I'm sorry, Tim. What? But on a serious note, and guess what? Those are the dudes that actually are on the field, not you and me, who just sit here and talk about stuff. Those are guys who are actually playing in the games, on the field, executing the game plan, making calls, making tackles, running the ball. Look, man, like there's never been anything wrong with talking about stuff that's on the agenda coming up. That's how it works, man.
Not at all.
That's how it works. AJ Cooper, thank you for that. Can I give you your $2 back? I don't want that. I don't want that in here.
Listen, hey, you know what?
I'm obviously giving you shit. Look, man, like this. There's a reason Michigan hasn't won here since Chris and I were like teenagers.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I would say, dude, my confidence level has shifted a little bit from where I think if you go back and watch some of the shows from last week, I was like, Michigan's gonna go in there. Ohio State's soft. They're gonna bully them. They're gonna shove them around. They're gonna do what they want to do. I've backed up off of that just a little bit. A little bit. I still think Michigan's going to get the dub. But Saturday, for a lot of we spent a lot of time talking about and basically taking shots at Ohio State for being one-dimensional and being affected by the elements. And on Saturday, even though Michigan showed a lot of resiliency, I think they showed a lot of the stuff that you want to see from a football team in a close game like that. They did show a little bit that, they can be one-dimensional as well. And I think Illinois took them to the edge. And again, that resiliency paid off and Michigan came through on top. But, you've got some issues with Mike Morris. Maybe Schoonmaker's not going to be available. There's questions about Blake Corum, even though he was out delivering turkeys all Sunday. There's still a lingering question about, how healthy is he? How effective can he be? Still confident, but I've, I would say I've slid back just a little bit more towards reality.
Okay. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Michigan is, the underdog. We're going to get into that a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to talk about that here coming up. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like, if they go to Columbus and were to lose to Ohio State at their place, you'd be like, what happened? What a meltdown. It's Ohio State, man. They're also 11-0. They're at home. They're in the playoff every year. That's how it goes, man. This is a legitimate opponent, and it's actually one of the things I was going to start off with. We'll get to that in a minute. We're not doing our revisiting You're Dumb, You're Smart. We did that on Saturday from Wolverine State Brewing Company. Very cool show. While all the nonsense was going on behind us, I enjoyed that.
We got to do that.
Yeah, that was cool. We spent several hours out there, so shout out to those guys. We'll give them a little more formal intro here in a little bit. But yeah, so we're just going to kind of throw some topics out there. That's one of them. I'm seeing Harbaugh, his words being mentioned in the comments. I'm seeing the thing about Ryan Hayes' comments. We'll talk about that here momentarily. So there's definitely some stuff to talk about it. There's Chris Fields, a regular.
There he is.
Always showing up. He can't help the PTSD. Hey, look, man, it's a large group of Wolverine fans suffering from that affliction. Tell you why Michigan is going to win this game. I want to believe. I am actually going to publish a 5 reasons why Michigan will win tomorrow. So we'll get into that. I mean, we'll talk about some of those things today, but I'm going to put it on paper and do it a little more formally tomorrow. If you can hold off just a little bit, Mr. Fields. So we will get to that real quick though, Chris. We're not gonna spend a lot. I'm talking literally like 2 or 3 minutes here because this is Ohio State week. It's football. But dude, basketball again, dude. Overtime with Ohio, they win by 4. What are we in for with basketball this season? That's about as much as I want to get into it right now.
I think I said it on the last show. I said I think it's going to be I think it's going to be one of those seasons where you're going to see a lot of growing pains. And obviously, I think, they'll make the tournament and all of that stuff. But, I think I got a little pushback on that from you the last time I said that, it's early. They'll be fine. They've got this. They've got that. I don't know, man. They just seem like a young team, and they seem to play to the level of competition that's on the court with them, whether it be in Eastern Michigan, whether it be Arizona, whoever it be in front of them. They seem to sort of match that. Well, not Arizona. Arizona State, wasn't it?
Arizona State, yeah.
Definitely didn't match the level of competition there. And that'll bring me to another topic later on in the show with one Mr. Frankie Collins. But I think I don't know, man. I just think we've gotten used to Juwan Howard getting the most out of his players, and obviously hitting the mark in the transfer portal, and to some extent he's done that, but I don't have super high hopes for this team. I think that they need better point guard play. I think that they need, consistent scorers, and, Hunter Dickinson's going to do what he does. But at the end of the day, how far can it take them in March? I'm not quite sure. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out, and if those guys can gel, or if it's just going to be a constant grind every single game.
I mean, there's definitely going to be some growth. I do expect Jalen Llewellyn's play to improve as he settles in as the starting point guard. The freshmen are going to get better week to week. But, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It's going to be a little bit of tough sledding
I'm
here.
with Malachi, though. At the end of the day right now, I'm with Malachi.
Yeah, I mean, look, dude, they're still playing games. I mean, like I said, we're not going to do an hour show on basketball, but they played last night. It wasn't a good look, and,
Boo!
a little bit about what we're going to have to talk about here in a couple weeks, because that's a reality.
And we're already getting porn in the chat, so off to a good start.
Porn off and running. Private dating, girls. Find them.
Find
what you need.
Biz?
Is that a lock the user? Is that 2 separate users? Like, how does that happen?
It might be. I don't know. I think there's just people that, sit in like a room somewhere and they wait for us to go live, and they're like, you know what? It's time. Let's spam with porn now.
Spam with porn. All right, real quick,
ladies,
before we get into our first legitimate segment topic and talk about exactly what went down at the podium today, let's give a real quick shout out to Wolverine State Brewing Company. We were there on Saturday. The plan is to be back there again on this Saturday. Is it not, Mr. Breiler?
That is the plan. So, I mean, we're going to drive straight down early in the morning to Columbus, watch the Wolverines beat the shit out of the Buckeyes, and then we are going to drive back to Ann Arbor, where we're going to post up once again at Wolverine State Brewing Company, probably do our post-game show there. And then at that point, the goal is to announce how much money that we have raised for this little project that we're doing with Mott Children's Hospital and Allie Bauer, who's got osteosarcoma. She's helping us to design a one-of-a-kind shoe with Blake Corum's logo on it. And so, the plan is to sort of celebrate, a successful season for Michigan football, a big win over Ohio State, and then to also celebrate the money we were able to raise for Mott Children's Hospital. So I'm very, very excited to get back to Wolverine State Brewing Company this weekend.
Absolutely, man. The guys over there, Nate, Jeremy, everybody who always makes it an incredible time for us. They're very welcoming, very accommodating. We'd love to roll in there with about 50 people, high on life after Michigan finishes 12-0 with the regular season. So let's
Can I just say about the donation for the Mott Children's Hospital project? We are literally about $25 away on the site from hitting the $4,000 mark. Now, obviously, we've got some sponsorship dollars that are coming in, and we've got a silent auction that's going on, but we are like $20 away from hitting a pretty cool milestone there on the website. So if you can, I don't know who has it, maybe CJ Frazier in the house. There it is. Right on time. Click on that link, whether it's $5, $10, $15, $20, $50, $100, whatever it is you can afford to donate. The money goes towards 5 incredible programs at Mott Children's Hospital, one of which is the Mott toy store that basically opens up its doors and allows kids to go in during Christmas who are at the hospital the entire time and have, the best possible Christmas they can have. And so we're getting real close to that $4,000 mark. Again, any little thing you can do. Don't give it to a couple dickheads like us today. Go on over there to the website and give it to the kids over at Mott Children's Hospital.
We were dinks. Now we're dickheads. I mean, that's I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened in the last 2 days. But
walk up a couple of dickheads over here.
Dink. Yeah, they'll just probably laugh and nudge you. You call them a dickhead.
Well, dickhead is the official of dink, right? It's like Richard and Rich, right? That's the difference. It's dink and dickhead.
All right. I wasn't aware. We'll have to sit down and discuss these tiers because I just felt like a little attacked right there. I'm like, we're trying to.
Well, I threw myself into that.
I know. No, I'm kidding, but no, awesome stuff. Dink is an acronym. That is news to me. I would love for Brian to explain. All right, Chris, let's get into it, man. People have already been asking in the comments. I was there today. Jim Harbaugh. I mean, in front of. Bro, they had to bring risers out. There were separate levels of camera crews. Like, obviously, the biggest game of the year, number 2 versus number 3, 11-0 versus 11-0. The game itself, I mean, that's what it's called. Mr. Crab.
Mr. Ron Crab.
Mr. Ron Crab, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Here's what I took away from Jim Harbaugh's podium presence today. He was, like, over the top nice and complimentary, and I texted to you, like, he was killing the enemy with kindness. Like, there was absolutely nothing that Ohio State could take away from the press conference today to hang up in their locker room. I don't really know if that was intentional. It felt like it was the way Jim. He had a script, which he doesn't always have. In fact, he usually doesn't have anything, but he had a piece of paper up there that he kept referencing when talking about this is like 2 superheroes and this is like this and this is like that. He had something. We're thankful. This is Thanksgiving week and we are thankful for this opportunity. This, that. I mean, he just went on and on about praising Ohio State, and I felt like it was a move, dude. I don't know what Jim Harbaugh's cooking up. I don't know what he's got going on. I don't know what he's saying out in public versus what he's saying behind closed doors, but his approach was very deliberate, and the players followed suit. We had Ryan Hayes, we had Mozzie Smith, we had Mike Sainristil, veteran senior guys. I don't know, man. It just felt like the confidence was there because Jim Harbaugh, my favorite line of the whole presser, he said, I think you're going to see that we're made of the right stuff. That's a confident line, but then the way he was just praising. I don't know, man. I know you saw a little bit of it. You heard some of the quotes.
Yep.
Just your thoughts on how he kind of conducted himself today with this game looming in 5 days.
Yeah, I feel like he's been that way for most of the year. I mean, even going into, the Michigan State game when everybody knew that Michigan State was trash and didn't have a good football team and that the Wolverines were going to, pound on them. I remember him standing at the podium complimenting them. They're very good at this. They do this really well. They're really well coached, on and on and on. And everybody in the room knew it was bullshit. And, but at the end of the day, I do think there's something to, you can tell that he has an immense respect for the rivalry and what it means being a part of it and the ability to be able to, participate in something like this where it's 2 11-0 teams and there's so much on the line. I think he's coming at it from a standpoint of, what a great opportunity for him and his team. And those great opportunities, those great moments don't come unless you have a great opponent to face. And so I think there's a big part of him that realizes that. I think the players in the locker room realize that, but make no mistake, inside the walls, outside of the media, they are hungry. They want this game more than anything. And I think I even heard Ryan Hayes say something to the effect today of like, if we lose this game, the season pretty much means nothing. Yeah. This game is everything. And I would be willing to bet that every single other member, whether it be on the coaching staff, a player, they feel the same way, that they got to get this one.
He said that. Mike Sainristil said, this is literally the most important thing in the world to me right now. They were just all so matter of fact about how big this. It goes without saying. It's obvious. This game's huge every year, but dude, look at the stakes right now. 11-0 versus 11-0, 2 versus 3, college football playoff, Big Ten championship.
Heisman trophies on the line.
Trophy guys in there. Yeah, CJ Stroud, Blake Corum, Jim Harbaugh mentioned that. They've got several guys who have Heisman habits over there. So do we. I mean, like everything that was said was very respectful. But I will say this. It was all true. I mean, I didn't get like a blowing smoke sense one bit. I don't think I'm surprised. I don't think I'm surprised that he didn't take like a shot. That's not really Harbaugh's style.
You wanted to hear some more third base talk? Is that what you wanted?
I mean, like he says it after the fact a little bit. I don't think there's any reason to do it right now. But it was like one thing after another. And I'm like, part of me wanted him to just be like, you know what, screw that, and just for a second, just like bust it out for a second, and then reclaim your poise at the podium. But it was just so over the top complimentary that I was kind of like, what's he doing up there? Like, is this a chess not checkers thing for Harbaugh? Like, is he? Does he go back in the locker room and you see all that shit I said out there? You see what I got to do in front of the media, and then going off. I don't know. I really want to know like what this is all about. I found it very interesting, and obviously there were a million people there taping it, and a lot of people asking a lot of questions. And it's the game, dude. It's the game, and it's finally here. And Harbaugh can talk about it, and the players can talk about it. And oh yeah, by the way, they have been working on it all year long. So there was that. The Beat Ohio drill. They watch film. They watch film on Ohio State every week. They look at the plays that they've run against other teams and say, look, this is what they do. This is what they like to do. This is what works. This is what doesn't work. So it's been a focus for them all season long. So Chris, you and I guess we're off the hook. I guess it's okay that we've been doing what we've been doing. But I don't know, man. The last thing I wrote in the story, so I put up, Jim Harbaugh goes out of his way to avoid bulletin board material. And I didn't mean that in a knock. I just think like he's literally he's doing this on purpose for a reason. Can't see inside of his head. But the last thing I said was a confident Jim Harbaugh has often been a dangerous one. And I just wonder, like, how confident do you think he is? Do you think his team is, given the fact that they got to go to, they got to go into the Lions' Den, man. They're on the road this year. It's not in Ann Arbor. Last year it felt a little different, obviously. But how confident do you think he is, and how confident do you think he should be?
I don't know, man. It's before I say that, whoever it was, you didn't list your name. We have officially hit the $4,000 mark on the Children's Hospital donations, and we've done that in about a week. So incredible job by you guys. Very, very appreciative of that. Just a really cool thing that a lot of you have helped with. So grateful for that. In terms of, how confident he is, I feel like he should be confident, but there are, he obviously knows more than we do as far as, who's going to be healthy, who's going to be ready to go. He knows what he's going to be able to work with. The only thing that gives me pause for concern a little bit, and I wrote an article about it today, is the passing attack. And, if there is a situation where Blake Corum isn't 100% and you don't have Donovan Edwards at 100% and you've got to go deep into your stable of backs, I question how effective this team can be without a healthy Blake Corum and having to rely a lot on the passing game to move the ball down the field. And so that gives me a little bit of concern. But if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm 11-0. I've been with these guys all year. I know what they're made of. I know what the mental makeup is. I know what the vibe is inside the locker room. He's got every reason to be confident. And I think I've said this before. This team, this 2022 squad has a better shot at beating the boys down in Columbus, more so than any team that I can remember, probably over the last 2 decades. They are made of the right stuff. They truly believe they can. I talked to Blake Corum about this a couple weeks ago. I said, it used to be, and I think somebody mentioned this, about the PTSD from getting the ass kicked by Ohio State for just, year after year after year, that this group has really changed the mindset of a lot of people in the fan base to where a game like this, traditionally, I'd be like, Michigan's going to get their ass kicked. I already know it. I'm not sure what the score is going to be, but it's going to be bad. And I just don't feel that way going into this. I feel like this team is ready to compete. And even if they don't win, I don't think it's going to look like it's looked in years past where they get blown off the field. I think they are finally on equal footing with the Buckeyes. And now it's just a matter of, who's going to impose their will on the other team and who comes out on top. But it's not going to look like it looked in 2019, 2018, 27. You look at some of those years where it's like 50 something. Yeah. It's a 30-point blowout. I don't think you're going to see that.
Yeah. You got Sarah Harbaugh yelling at people in the press conference after the game. It was tough sledding for a while there. Yeah. I'm with you. I don't see that. And neither does Vegas, by the way. We'll get into that here in a little bit.
Yes, we will.
But, anyway, very important 2 comments right here. One from Muth97. A DINK is a dual income, no kids. That's the acronym. So there you go. Those people
Dual income, no kids.
Those people got it figured out, by the way.
Well, I guess I'm not a dink.
Yeah, I'm not a dink either. And then a dickhead is you're just a dickhead. So there you go. There's that.
Well,
and then
I thought a dink was just like. Well, I'm not gonna get it.
There's other meanings, but I have now that he puts that's not the dinks that we're talking about. Okay, that's how we'll put that. And then Ron Crabb gave another donation. Thank you for that, Ron.
Hey,
but didn't put his question with it, so it's separate from it, and he wants to give that money to Mott, so we can try to remember to keep track of that. Obviously,
awesome.
It's in a different spot.
Absolutely appreciate
Ron,
that.
the one who was in Malaysia, was that right? He said he's going to be watching the game at 1 a.m. on a Sunday. Is that right?
Yeah. Are you in Malaysia there, Ron? I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Give us a little update on that. But
yeah.
He's got a couple questions here, though, with his donation, Chris. What's the one thing you are most optimistic about and one thing you are least optimistic about? Very good questions, given
great question.
The magnitude of this game and what both teams are going to be able to trot out there. I mean, the health thing does make that a little bit more difficult to answer.
Yeah.
But does anything come to mind for you immediately?
Well, I'm most optimistic about Michigan's ability still to make good second half adjustments, play good second half football. So I think that we'll still be able to count on that in Columbus. My biggest, least optimistic or my biggest concern, I guess I would say, is can Michigan score enough points in the first half? Can they get off to a fast enough start to where they're not having to play from behind? That's my biggest concern, is that if Michigan is in a situation where they are playing from behind early, I don't know that they're going to be able to do enough in the second half to pull it out. That's my fear. Now, if Michigan can get out to a 10, 14 point lead in the first half, I love their chances going into the half, because that we've seen time and time again. I mean, they haven't given up a point in the fourth quarter over the last 6 games. It's incredible. So they're clearly doing the right things at halftime, but I mean, I do have several concerns. I'll just put it that way.
They're not misplaced. Excuse me. They're not misplaced. Mine would be, dude, we've seen 11 games of it, so it doesn't change for me. I'm still confident about the running game. Even if you don't have 100% Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, I think CJ Stokes can do just fine. I think, if he's prepping for that throughout the week, it's a little different than being thrown in there as a true freshman and being like, hey, don't screw up.
It's still not Blake Corum.
It's not Blake Corum, but I mean, I don't think you're suddenly going to just have an unproductive rushing game. I think Michigan's offensive line is too good for that. And then I'm least optimistic about the deep ball, about making big plays. I mean, we haven't seen it all year. I don't know why it would be any different now that you're going up against the best team in the most hostile environment. I mean,
that's what confuses me about people that think all of a sudden Michigan is going to unleash this passing attack that they've been saving all year. Because when you throw the ball downfield, the goal is that you hit your target, and that really hasn't happened all year. So, I mean, the idea that, Andrell didn't choose to drop that ball last Saturday against Illinois. JJ didn't choose to overthrow the ball, to Colston Loveland late in the fourth quarter. I mean, those aren't choices that are being made to play some sort of chess game. Like, you're seeing things play out in a way that shows that there are some issues with the passing game, most of which that it's inconsistent. JJ clearly can make great throws, and the wide receivers can make great catches, but it doesn't happen on a consistent basis. And because of that, if they get in a situation where they have to rely on it, I mean, how many people out there feel confident that if Michigan has to turn to the passing game to move the ball down the field in much the same way that they had to do against Illinois in the fourth quarter, where, you're third and long or you're fourth down? I mean, how confident are you that Michigan can do that in Columbus and make those completions?
Yeah.
I would love to say, look, at the beginning of the year, when I found out JJ McCarthy was going to be the starting quarterback, I'm like, yes, that's what it is. That's what it's going to take. You need a guy like that. We're 11 weeks into the season, and I don't have nearly as much confidence in the passing game as I thought I would at this point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Shane Johnson, appreciate the donation. I'm not going to throw your question up just yet, because it's one of my burning questions. So we will come back to it and address exactly what you talked about right there. So we'll get back to that. If I don't pull your question back up, just know that I have one almost exactly like yours, and we will certainly talk about it. So appreciate the donation there. So yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot going on here. I mean, Chris and I have said multiple times that the injury thing is not something we dive into, but at this point, with the guys that have been hurt, like, it's impossible not to talk about. We will get to that during burning questions. Not in terms of like what we've heard. Are we digging, find out who's available, who's not, but more just kind of take an inventory of who's dealing with what and like what it might look like. I mean, it's bad, dude. It's not good in week 12 or week 13 to be missing some of the guys they're missing. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. The last thing before we move on to our everybody's favorite segment, the shortest segment we do, but everybody loves it. Coleridge Bernard Stroud the fourth, Chris.
Ooh, that's a mouthful.
Coleridge Bernard Stroud the fourth.
Coleridge or Coolridge?
It's Coleridge.
Coleridge.
C-O-L-E.
Okay, well that's
Ridge. Bernard Stroud the fourth. When I thought it was Coolidge, cool. That was a little better.
Yeah. Now I see Coolidge. Why you CJ.
Little dweeby. It's supposed to be a little cold.
Yeah.
There's a 60% chance of rain.
Not as cold as last weekend, though, right?
No.
I haven't looked at the forecast. For God's sakes, my ass cheeks cannot take another full Saturday of that.
They're still clapping together.
Still clapping. Still
Saturday, high of 53. So I don't know if it'll be there by. Yeah, I mean, like, that's not cold but rainy and wet. You know, that's not ideal for a throwing team.
Sure.
A one Coleridge Bernard Stroud the fourth. Chris, I believe you've used words like soft, fold, maybe fold like laundry.
Yeah.
How do you feel about 53 and rainy for Coleridge Bernard?
I like it because I feel like if the Michigan and I said this going into the game last season, I said, I think what's going to happen is the Michigan defense is going to get in his shit early. They're going to get in his face. They're going to rattle him. And then he's going to spend the rest of the game worried about it. And that's kind of how it played out last year. I think it's going to be more of the same this year. I think that defense, I think they're going to get to him early. I think they're going to rattle him early. And then if you throw the elements in, if you throw some of the discomfort, maybe there's wind, maybe there is some precipitation. I just think it's going to be a long, and to Dwayne Jones's point, yes, it's flu season as well. So we don't know. I mean, has he taken his vitamins? Does he have a cough? Does he have an icky tummy? I don't know what's going on with him, but I think the Michigan defense is going to make an effort to get to the quarterback early and often. And if they do, and then you throw in the elements on top of that, I still like Michigan's chances.
Yeah. I mean, he does seem to get rattled a little easier than one who's had the success and who is chasing a Heisman and a perfect season. I mean, like, JJ hasn't been nearly as good as CJ Stroud, like, in any way, really. Yeah. I mean, you could say that kid's unflappable. I mean, he gets rocked. He makes a terrible throw. He doesn't care.
There is no doubt that JJ McCarthy is mentally and physically stronger than CJ Stroud. I have zero doubt about that.
That's what I mean.
I watched JJ, like I said, in the Illinois game when it was on the line, 3rd and long, 4th down, like through the camera lens right up on his face. And the dude was cool, calm, collective, and he delivered. I saw him go out and block for Blake Corum and drag his arm on the turf and get up. And it looked like all of the skin on his arm was missing. And like he just wasn't impacted by it. And then you can see some of that on social media. Like the dude, like, he meditates and he's a deep thinker, and I just think he has more of a control over his psyche than other guys his age. And so, yeah, when it comes to physical toughness, mental toughness, give me JJ McCarthy all day long.
There's no doubt. I mean, that's not the type of thing that you can measure by standing on a scale, but you can see it, dude. The facial expressions, the way they carry and conduct themselves, JJ had every opportunity to just, wither, and he didn't. I mean, Jim Harbaugh talked about it today. He said,
not in him. It's not his DNA.
You'd like him not to fumble the snap, but holy hell, when he did, like the play that he made, you pick it up, the wherewithal to not put your knee down, to roll out, scramble, connect on that first down conversion. It was, dude, he wasn't good on Saturday. I mean, like, he just wasn't. But when they had to have it, when he had to be good, when he had to make plays, he made them all. Made them all. And there's something to be said about that. I mean, I would have liked it to be cleaner and better and more efficient from quarter 1 to quarter 4. But I guess when you got to have it, and you go get it and you win the game, like that counts for something. And so,
and I said that earlier, that I think in the article I put out, that, you know, when it absolutely had to be, the passing game worked. They got the ball down the field. Roman Wilson made a couple of big catches. JJ made some big throws. Isaiah Gash out of the backfield dropped one, but also made a big I mean, they were making the plays they needed to make in order to get Jake Moody in position to kick the field.
Weren't deep shots though, and
still
like that.
That's
really
still
been like
not
the
deep
problem.
shots. So that is an ongoing problem that hasn't changed. But the point is, yeah, they were making plays when they needed to make them in the fourth quarter. But part of the reason they were in that situation in the first place is because you couldn't connect on the deep ball with an Andrell Anthony who had both hands on it, would have been a touchdown. And instead, Michigan turns the ball over on downs, and Illinois goes down and scores, and what would have been 17-10 advantage Michigan became 17-10 advantage Illinois. And those are the types of things that if it happens in Columbus, I mean, when it happens at home against Illinois, that's one thing. And you see how close, how much you might have to pay for that. If that happens in Columbus, I think that those are the types of situations that are going to put Michigan in big, big trouble. And that's why a lot of people are out there saying, Michigan hasn't had to rely on the passing attack, and they haven't had to do it. And look at what happened last year, and look at the way Michigan managed. Yeah, last year was last year. I'm telling you, if there is a situation where Michigan has the opportunity to throw the ball deep, and they've got Andrell or Ronnie or Cornelius or whoever else streaking downfield, and you miss that opportunity, it's going to hurt more than it has at any point throughout the early part of the season. Those missed points will cost you big in Columbus. No doubt.
No doubt. There's no doubt about it. And I want to be very clear. Not all on JJ on Saturday.
No, not at all.
Andrell's catch was tough, but he had both hands on the ball. He was in between two guys that weren't draped on him.
If you're wearing that number 1 jersey, if you're playing at a Power 5 program like Michigan, you make that catch. You make that damn. And I have been the biggest Andrell Anthony advocate. Maybe in the market. I don't know that anybody's gone as hard for Andrell as I have, and the belief that I have and how good he can possibly be. What I will say is, and we talked about this a little bit, when the opportunities are so few and far in between, you don't have the sense, you don't have the ability to build up your confidence and build up that rhythm and get used to having the ball in your hands. And then, when it comes at you down the field and it's sporadic, you're like, shit, I need to make this catch. I got to make this catch. I got to make this catch. And then you don't make the catch. And then it doesn't come back to you again. So game after game, that has sort of been what they've been left with, is like a great opportunity that was missed, and they haven't been able to capitalize and build on anything in the passing game. And that's what really disappoints me, is that from week 1 to week 11, I can't think of a single area of the passing game where there has been noticeable improvement. Not one. Like, can you point, I mean, whether it's from a wide receiver, from a tight end, like, is there one area where they have made noticeable improvements in the passing game over 11 weeks?
Maybe the slight emergence of a freshman Colston Loveland. Like, that's it. Okay. Like, that's it. Honestly, I mean, like, Ronnie Bell has been good, but like, I don't even know if he's been as good as I thought he would be. Andrell Anthony certainly hasn't been.
No.
AJ Henning's got about 4 or 5 catches on the year. JJ's percentage and deep ball throws, and he's less productive than Cade was at this point. Like, that blows my balls off, dude. I can't fathom that based on how we thought he would be if he was the starter. So no, I think you're right. I don't think there is a marked improvement anywhere in the passing game. Some of those dimes that we were seeing from JJ, now granted, earlier in the year, beautiful weather, inferior opponents, but a throw is a throw. And like, they just seem to be gone. The timing seems to be gone. The accuracy is not there all the time. There's a lot of things that are to be desired in that passing game. There's no doubt about it. And you're right. If you miss those shots on the road in Columbus, it's a wrap. You can't miss them. You got to get them. Now, again, you go back to the play with Andrell, and like, that looked like a free play. Everybody on Michigan's sideline thought that was offsides. And you're like, well, what the hell is that? Okay, cool. Make the catch. Who cares? Like, Andrell doesn't care if there's a flag or not right there. Go catch the football.
Yeah.
And, Isaiah Gash had an easy drop. He made up for it a couple plays later, but JJ missed Loveland. Didn't even throw to him on one when he was wide open in the end zone, and then overthrew him on another one where he would have scored. So, like I said, it's not all on JJ. There was blame to be spread around to a lot of guys, but it doesn't matter. It's the passing game in general, and it needs to be better against a team like Ohio State.
And Rob Lucio, what he said, I find myself asking that same question too. If Andrell Anthony isn't going to make that catch, can Darius Clemens make that catch? Can Amarian Walker make that catch? I mean, it's clear that it's not working. And a guy like Darius Clemens, who's been standing on the sidelines pretty much all year, if you get him open, he doesn't have, I mean, granted, he doesn't have the reps that Andrell has, but he also doesn't have the mindset that, oh shit, like I haven't made a lot of these plays, I got to go make this play. Like it might be a different mindset altogether. So I'm at a point where I'm starting to wonder, like, should number 0 be out there?
He does have
be out there.
He does have the ability to be 6'3", 210.
Like a deer.
Yeah,
You
wonder. That's a great point, because it's not like you're taking, all Americans off the field.
No.
I mean, no disrespect, but Andrell Anthony's got 6 catches on the year. Like, what are you really losing if you give someone else a little bit of a look or a shot to make a play down there when some of these other guys are not doing it? I mean, that sounds hard.
That's what they've been holding back. Maybe Darius Clemens is the weapon.
He played 50 snaps tomorrow, has 11 catches for 205.
And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, wouldn't be.
Fine. All right, this is a big one, dude. Little donation from Darren.
Hey.
Happy 9th birthday to Devin.
Happy birthday to you.
Wow. More singing. Somebody asked earlier if there was going to be any singing, and I think we've kind of crossed that threshold now. It's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak.
It really is. Once you start singing, it's hard to stop. Now I get why Mariah Carey is the way she is. Potential future Wolverine cheerleader, and the request is that the funds go to Mott. Darren, very much appreciative. Thank you very much for that.
Very cool. Happy birthday to your young lady there. Awesome. That's a phenomenal shout out right there. We appreciate that.
Love it.
All right. Well, I don't know how many more times we're going to get to do this, Chris, but it's fun every time. It makes us look cooler than we are. The Army National Guard. We spent a lot of time with Lieutenant Jared Johnson at Wolverine Company. I mean, the dude can talk some shit. I'll put that out there. First of all, I don't know. You guys apparently have a big basketball game coming up tomorrow. I don't know what's going on.
Here's the deal. If you want these guys to have supreme confidence, right? If they are representing the United States of America, if they are part of the United States Army, you want them to have supreme confidence. And I can tell you for a fact that Jared Johnson has supreme confidence. And so I respect him for that. He thinks he can take me on the basketball court. He'll find out the hard way that he can. But damn it, he's got confidence. And I love confidence. And you know what I love even more? The Army National Guard, the Michigan Army National Guard. Spending time with those guys was incredible. We were talking about some things that are going to happen in the future over the weekend. Helicopters are back in play. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's coming in the future. And the excitement level I have in partnering with the Army National Guard, I just want other people to feel that as well. And so we say it all the time, that building out in Grand Ledge, that's their recruiting hub. They have an amazing group of people out there. And if you are somebody who is, contemplating whether or not the Army is for you, I encourage you, check them out, go talk to these guys. And even if you don't end up enlisting or signing up for the Army, like you'll walk away with a whole newfound respect for who those people are and what they do. And so I got to encourage everybody to at least get out there and meet those folks.
Yeah, so if you ever see that link up on the Facebook page, I know Chris does a lot of sponsored posts. Go check it out. Send it to somebody else. If you have somebody in mind, put them on. I mean, that's really what it's all about. That's the recruiting station, as Chris said. And, recruiting is all about eyeballs. That's what you got to get people to know that it's even there. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, like, they're going to take care of what they take care of out there. We just want to get it in front of people. So.
Didn't even know that building was there until Jared reached out to me. And then once I went out there and they opened up the doors and I saw what they had in those big hangars and, all the people that were out there, it was just, that is an incredible facility. They got a flight simulator out there. They got a lot of cool shit. I just, again, I encourage, if you're on the fence, if you're inquiring about it, go meet those guys. Go, make an appointment, go talk with them. Even if you don't end up signing up, I think you'll have a whole new respect for who they are and what they do. And really that's, that goes a long way as well.
I love CJ's suggestion here. That could be the album cover whenever we try. I mean, Chris and I got a lot of irons in the fire. Like that's the next one. Yeah. That's the next one. We're dropping our first album, first EP.
The Gift of Song.
We'll see how it goes.
Christmas album.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. That's it's not my best genre, but we could probably make it work. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty confident in what we do. All right, you ready, dude?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
This fucking guy.
So Adam Molnar was asking, I think, did you miss TFG? He was a little late to the party. Adam, you did not. You did not.
You didn't.
We're about to do it right now. Thanks for tuning in late. We appreciate having you. Chris, I don't know. I kind of want to go first because I just got one guy. It's not the strongest, it's not the strongest candidate I've ever had. And you told me something before we started the show
guy.
that you've got a laundry list and you've got somebody that's going to break a barrier, and I'm anxious to hear it.
We're going to break a barrier.
All right, so, well, Matt Kirby just stole my thunder a little bit, but it's Brett Bielema. I mean, dude, what are you doing? First of all, right, look, I'm glad he's a dunce because it allowed Michigan to win the game, but he comes out late in the second half with the lead with Chase Brown foaming at the mouth, and he's throwing the ball around with Danny DeVito's nephew. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Run the ball. Like, thank you, but run the ball. Like, that's how you made your life, was being a big Midwestern corn-fed brother, dude, running the ball at Wisconsin, running the ball with Illinois this year, and he goes away from it and, like, gives Michigan a chance to get the ball back, stopping the clock. And then, yeah, of course, the antics at halftime where he's complaining about the 30 seconds of time he had to wait for.
I thought there was about to be another fight. I was standing there with my coffee, and I hear this screaming, this man just yelling, and I look around the corner, and there's Bielema, pissed off that his team cannot get out of the tunnel. And I'm like, all right, here we are now that people are trying to keep them separated, and you've got a coach going off and screaming at everybody. So you're not going to – it's just further proof that you can't please everyone.
Couple house cleaning items real quick. Sean Bennett, that is not Danny DeVito's nephew. That's my sense of humor. Apologies for any confusion. The quarterback for Illinois is not Danny DeVito's blood nephew. And Sean, you must not know where your boys come from. There is no hating on corn-fed people over here.
You boys grew up in the cornfield, surrounded by them.
I've done so many things with corn over the years. That's a drop. That's a drop. That's a drop. 4208. I've thrown corn at mailboxes. I've thrown corn at cows. I have
sprinted through cornfields,
dude.
Beeline to the house.
Corn, just sprinting through the corn, dude. I've done a lot with corn. I mean, you guys need to get your minds out of the gutter a little bit. But me and corn are like this, son.
This, like that.
All right. So Brett Bielema, what are you doing?
Guy.
Settle down.
TFG. All right, Brandon. I put a lot of thought into this. I was like, should I go back to the Mel Tucker well, because he's been complaining about the fact that, because we're down 8 players, we haven't been able to hit in practice, and it's been difficult, so we can't be physical, there can't be no contact, and yada, 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 and basically making every excuse for why his team continues to suck. And then I was like, nah, it can't be Mel Tucker. Should it be Frankie Collins? Because Frankie Collins seems to have tremendous interest in what happens with Michigan basketball, even though he's not part of the program anymore. You follow him on social media, you know what I'm talking about. Every time Michigan struggles, Frankie's always got something to say on social media. So I thought maybe he could be my TFG of the week, but no, there was one person that really stood out.
Guy.
And it's actually this gal.
Oh, this is the barrier.
Now, I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. I believe it's Dinich. Is it Heather Dinich?
Okay.
ESPN? Heather Dinich of ESPN. So Michigan goes out.
Mm-hmm.
They go 11-0. They come out on top. Obviously, top teams last weekend all kind of struggled. TCU, we saw the gamut. Heather Dinich on her Twitter account comes out with a tweet talking about Michigan's non-conference schedule and talking about games that happen in September. And I'm just not sure what the rationale is at this point in the year for continuing to harp on Michigan's non-conference schedule for games that happen in September. The first 3 games, by the way, which Michigan won, unless you're just a little pissed off that there's several teams from the SEC that currently have 2 losses, like an LSU, like an Alabama, like a Tennessee. So to me, her tweet just kind of reeked of a bias that we all know exists, but for some odd reason, Heather Dinich has an issue with the Michigan Wolverines, and for that, I've got an issue with Heather Dinich. She is my guy.
So the first female TFG.
That's right.
Is she the first female? That's I was trying to remember back for sure.
Yeah, we have not done a female TFG to this point. And I couldn't be happier that Heather Dinich was the first. She just has a habit of making bad tweets. Bad tweets.
I'm trying to find out where she's from. If she has
She went to Indiana. I know that.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't positive.
She went to Indiana.
Thought maybe there was a built-in beef.
This fucking guy.
I don't know what her deal is. But yeah, Michigan wins, goes 11-0. Let's talk about those 3 non-conference games. I mean, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you even reporting on that at this point? It's not even relevant to what's happening. Michigan is 11-0. Ohio State's 11-0. And no matter how much Heather Dinich tweets about the non-conference schedule, if Michigan wins, they're in. And so why are we talking about Colorado State, UConn, and Hawaii at this point? I just think, again, it looks like somebody who's got a little bit of bias and it comes off poor. And like for that reason, she gets the nod.
She can get TFG, even though it's typically been reserved for the males.
Right. That's right. We're equal opportunity here. Right. Equal opportunity.
Nick, this is thank you for the donation, first of all. But Chris and I have talked about maybe Michigan needs to recruit some different kinds of dudes at some different spots.
Yep.
Hadn't thought about this one, so I like it. But you said, do you think Jim Harbaugh should just say, screw it, and only recruit 6'4" to 6'6" wide receiver tight end hybrids, focus on the development, 50-50 ball possession reception?
Give me Devin Funchess out there. You know what I mean?
Look, dude, we've said it with like the quarterbacks. We're like, go out and find the best dual threat, brick shit house type of guy that you can. They may have that in Alex Orji, by the way. I mean, a guy who can take some hits. You can use him in the running game. You don't need him to wing it 45 times a game. You don't need him to be incredibly accurate. I mean, like, yeah, you want to find a guy who can throw the ball and complete passes and things like that, but they're just flat out not asking their guys to do it. And like, look, man, they're 11-0. It's fine. But like, you go out and you recruit a guy like JJ McCarthy and you're like, well, like a lot of people could have done what he's done this year, hand it off 50 times and throw.
Cade McNamara did it last year.
Yeah, 8 to 10 yards down the field and not connect on deep balls. Like you could find guys to do. I mean, that sounds bad. The numbers are what they are, man. He's completing like 30% of his throws over 20 yards. That's just where we're at. Now, you get back to that whole discussion of chicken or the egg. Like, is he not completing them because he hasn't been working on it? Or are they not working on it or doing it because he can't complete them? Like, which way does it go? I mean, I
refuse to believe that.
I do too. I won't believe it based on what I've seen him do before and even what he's done early at Michigan in spot duty. So I don't know, man. You get into that discussion a little bit about what exactly they're trying to do and, what kind of players they need to be successful. I mean, they've won like 23 out of 25 games or whatever. Like, they're doing pretty good. So we'll roll with that and we'll see what it looks like on Saturday. But I don't think your point is like, I don't think you're being what's the word? I don't think you're being
facetious.
Yeah,
I think I've even brought that up. Stop recruiting these speedy wide receivers and just recruit more tight ends who can also play the wide receiver position if they're going to be blocking most of the game anyway. And then maybe you can do like a 3-step drop, fade to the corner, the back of the end zone when you're in the red zone. Like, I haven't seen Michigan really do any of that stuff. And again, it's, when they're 11-0, it is really hard to complain about the way the offense looks. But when you have to be honest and you have to be genuine in your assessment, I find myself week after week, even though I've embraced, the run heavy offense. Took me a long time just to get to a point where I was okay with, this is how the offense is going to look. Fine. But even in a run heavy offense, you still have to have a competent passing game. And I'm not even sure that I would classify the passing attack as competent at this point. What is it? I don't even really know what it is or how to classify it other than to just say it's got a ton of potential, but it's real inconsistent.
Apparently there is a Buckeye in our midst, Chris.
Hey.
It's weird. I don't know why you're here. Go do something else. But if you want to stay,
it's Marcus Thomas from the Facebook page. You might as well kick him out because I can already see But some of
he
the
might,
shit
if he stays, maybe he learns how to spell some short words. Maybe he can learn how to read some 2-syllable words.
I mean,
You might
dude,
pick up a thing or two.
he's got a profile picture of what I can only assume is his infant child, and the only comment I can see is "I'm nutting on your girl's chin." So, I mean, that's what we're working with here. That's what we're working with. Some of the best and brightest from the state of Ohio.
Well,
Another one who escaped the petri dish.
yeah.
Get back to your dish.
Escaped it. Still is living there. Apparently procreating there. Fantastic.
Look at he can't even spell y'all correctly. Do something right, Marcus, for God's sakes. I'm sure that's not the first time you heard that.
Oh man. Well, we'll let him hang around for a little bit. If it gets obnoxious, we'll fix the issue. But for now, hey, you're representing your culture well. I'll put it that way. Your Ohioan culture, phenomenal, spot on.
Exactly what we would expect.
Yeah, we'll let him hang out a little bit and see what else he can do.
Yeah.
We're at 50 minutes. We've got burning questions. Can we do it?
If we can, we absolutely can. God damn it, it's Monday.
Can we do it? Let's
Not
roast
only
some
can
cockles, bro. Let's get them
We
roasted.
will. Let's get them roasting.
You want to go first, or you want me to? I'm gonna go
Kick it off.
first.
Kick it off.
Yeah, this has become a weekly tradition now. Do you know where I'm going, Chris? Do you know what well I'm going back to for my third week in a row burning questions?
I'm not
You
sure.
remember?
I'm not sure.
Dude, Aiden Hutchinson. The dude is making plays all the time. And now the Lions have won 3 games in a row. The Lions are now in the talks of being in the playoff hunt, Chris. I know you're not a big NFL guy, but lots of people in here like the Lions, and they're doing some good things. And Aiden Hutchinson made another incredible play. He dropped back into coverage. He picked off he picked off a pass with his hands like a tight end would have been jealous of the catch that he made. Beat the Giants on the road. Is Aiden Hutchinson the defensive rookie of the year?
Sure. Why not?
He's leading all edge rushers in sacks. He's leading all edge rushers in quarterback hurries. He's now intercepted 2 passes, which has never been done in the history of the NFL by a defensive end rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally doing things that have never happened before.
Give it to him. Yeah, absolutely. Give it to him. I say give it to him. And that's my non-biased opinion as somebody who watches every single NFL game.
Right.
Give that award to Aiden Hutchinson. Hands down.
Here's the deal. He's going to be in the discussion. He's been productive. The Lions are now winning. He's obviously, maybe not obviously, he's arguably the best player on that defense, which is playing better football. I just think it's worth bringing up, dude. The Michigan official football Twitter account has been leaning on him every week because he just keeps doing awesome stuff. He just keeps making highlight play after highlight play, and it's pretty awesome to watch.
All right, man. Getting into the Michigan football stuff here. Ohio State, it's the game week. The current spread last I saw for Michigan, Ohio State was OSU as a 7.5-point favorite. Here's my question. At this point, is that too high, too low, just right? And it's a 2-part question. What do you think it will be the day the 2 teams kick off?
So this is pretty much exactly my third question. So we'll go ahead and lump these 2 together.
Just lump them.
I think it's too high. I mean, we talked about it last week. I think we both said it was going to be around a field goal or maybe a little more than a field goal. So, I mean, based on what I thought before I saw the official line, I think it is too high. I mean, dude, it's Ohio State. They're at home. They're good. I mean, they're good, dude. It's hard to say that that's an obnoxious number, but I do think it is a little bit too high. I think it's going to be actually pretty close to that when they kick off. I think it's going to be about 7.5, 6.5. I just don't see there being enough action to really move the line or change it all that much. And I still think Michigan's got just the. I mean, the line. I don't care. I don't care what the line says. I think Michigan's got a chance to win the game. I think they do enough things well. Now the injury situation is concerning. We'll get to that very shortly here. But I'm fine with where it's at, being that they're at home, being that they're more explosive on offense, can score in more of a hurry. But I think Michigan would look at that number and be like, cool, I'm cool with that because we're gonna do better than that. Even if they don't get it done, I think it's going to be a really, really close game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's to me, it's a little bit high right now. I think as the game gets closer, it's going to slide to probably like 4.5. I think you'll see it maybe get down into that range, but fine for now. But it will slide more towards Michigan's favor, and then once they kick off, I would expect it to be right around the 4.5 point mark.
So that was my third question. So yeah. All right, here's the deal, Chris. I know we don't do the injury thing that much, and this is not like speculating on who's going to play or like what have we heard or how bad is the injury. I just want like general statement because you're talking about some big impact guys. This is not like, some kickoff team guys are out or a second string backup. You're talking Luke Schoonmaker, you're talking Mike Morris, you're talking Blake Corum, you're talking Donovan Edwards, and you're talking Trevor Keegan. These are all guys who have missed significant time leading up to this game. How concerned are you? 1 through 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Like, how worried are you about how these guys are dinged up and what it might look like on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, anytime the injuries mount up the way that they have, you can't help but be a little bit concerned. I mean, Mike Morris, he's the sack leader on the team. Blake Corum, Heisman Trophy candidate. When you start to get guys like that get a little dinged up, you can't help but be a little bit concerned. But look, this is what happens in late November. People get hurt. I mean, you know, at this point, this is why you play a lot of guys during the season, is to try to get your team ready. And so it's a little concerning, but at the end of the day, it's not an excuse. I think whatever squad Michigan goes to Columbus with, whoever's healthy, whoever's ready to go, no excuses. I mean, they've got enough talent, even with some of the injuries they have, to get it done. I know that Ohio State's facing the same set of circumstances. Yeah. They've got some injuries as well. That's just the name of the game, man. But I'm slightly concerned, but not enough to where I think it should impact the outcome.
Did you put a number? I might have missed. Did you say a 1 through 10?
Yeah, I'm a 5.
Okay. I'm at about a 7. I said it last week. I mean, Mike Morris looked really hobbled.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to make about Blake Corum, dude. I mean, the fact that he came in and carried the ball again in the second half makes me think like he's going to go.
And then delivered turkeys all Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no easy task, carrying a 30-pound turkey out on ice. You know what I'm saying?
AJ Henning as well didn't play. So it's not good. It's not good. You'd much rather have them all 100% than not. But Mayan Williams is banged up. Travion Henderson, I think, was available last week, but he didn't play much, if at all. I know the freshman kind of went off, and I think he scored 3 touchdowns for Ohio State. Dallin Hayden, and he hadn't hardly played all year. It's not good, dude. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned about the guys who are out and how they kind of looked, leading up to this point. I mean, Schoonmaker was in uniform, didn't play. Morris was in uniform. There's no way he could play based on how it looked, with him running around out there. And Corum, I'm really curious about. Edwards, the same thing. And Keegan's kind of been battling something all year. I would expect him to be good to go for Saturday.
Yeah.
But we'll see, man. It's not ideal, but it is week 13, and that's what happens in football, man. You got to fight through it.
Let's stay on Blake Corum a little bit, just because you just brought him up. I'm curious. Give me your chance in percentage form. The chances that Michigan wins the game with Blake Corum and without. What do you think the difference in percentage there? So your confidence level if Blake Corum plays and is able to play the game versus if he can't go. Maybe he gives it a couple tries and he's sidelined. How much do you think that changes Michigan's odds in terms of percentage?
Well, I think if you're asking me the question that way, then I would have to fold it down to the next level and say, what does that mean for Donovan Edwards? Because if you don't have both of them, that's very different than
not counting on Donovan Edwards either.
Okay, if Donovan Edwards is also ruled out, it's a bigger gap than I feel comfortable with. I like C.J. Stokes. I think Michigan's offensive line can create some running lanes for anybody who's got some ability back there. Haven't loved seeing as much of Isaiah Gash as we've seen. I mean, that's not a knock to the kid, but you're talking Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, and now Isaiah Gash is getting fourth quarter carries, and you're trying to come back and win. It's not ideal. I think Michigan can win the game. I put it at slightly above 50% with a full-strength Blake Corum. I think it drops down below that, so then I would pick Ohio State. If Blake Corum can't play at all on Saturday, I have a hard time thinking that Michigan's going to be able to set the tone and do what they want to do on offense. And so I would dip it down, probably into the 40% range where I would then favor Ohio State. And that sucks. Like, that blows that might be what it comes down to, but that's how I feel about it.
This is how much I value Blake Corum. If Blake Corum is even 80% healthy, but he's able to play the full game, I still give Michigan a 60% chance of winning that game because I love what they do, and he is just Mr. Consistency. You can rely on him, and that's how the offense works. If he can't go, I think that percentage drops from 60 to 30. That's where I'm at. I think without a healthy Blake Corum, and even if Donovan Edwards can go here and there, I think the chances go down to 30. I think he's that important to the offense. They have spent 11 weeks building this offense around that offensive line and Blake Corum. So if you don't have your Heisman Trophy candidate going into Columbus, a place you haven't won since 2000, I think your chances go down considerably. So for me, 60 if he can go, 30 if he can't.
We're pretty close. I think I said like 60 to 40. I mean, 55 to 40, something like. I mean, like I think it's going to be a close game. If both teams were at full strength, I think it would be really close. I'd give Michigan a slight edge. Yeah, when your team wants to run the ball so much and you lose Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, that's not good. There's no way to slice it. That is not good. All right, number 4 for me, skipping one, so I guess you'll finish ahead of me. All year long, I think we've been pleasantly surprised. No, I don't think. I know we've been pleasantly surprised by Mike Sainristil. Dude's been playing out of his mind all year. I mean, I'm not exactly studying nickels across the conference, but just based on what he's done, I bet he's one of the better ones in the league. He's been phenomenal. Jamon Green, DJ Turner have been really, really good. Not a lot of missed assignments, not a lot of getting burnt. Pretty productive out there, making some plays. And then, coming out, the emergence of freshman Will Johnson has made that trio of corners, along with Mike Sainristil, really, really good. They haven't seen horses like Ohio State has. Marvin Harrison Jr., Julian Fleming, Emeka Egbuka. I don't know what the hell's going on with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't. He's got 5 catches all year. He's basically not even on the team. Yeah. Some people think he's already packed it in for the NFL. Cool. That's an Ohio State thing to do. They can do that. Whatever. Still, you take him out of the mix, and he's probably the best one. I mean, he was at the beginning of the year. I know Marvin Harrison has taken his game to a new level. Can Jamon Green, DJ Turner, Will Johnson, Mike Sainristil, can they check those thoroughbreds in scarlet and gray?
Yes, they can. I mean, I think that, and I haven't been able to say this about Michigan's secondary for, going back to, I don't know, man. It feels like it's been a long time since they've been loaded into the secondary the way that they are now. And I feel like they've got a lot of solid candidates who've got a lot of good playing time. Jamon Green, obviously a veteran. Will Johnson, young, but he looks the part of a veteran out there. DJ Turner obviously has played a lot of time. And then Mike Sainristil has been absolutely incredible. I mean, he can get out in coverage, but he can also get to the quarterback. He's one of the guys that I think is going to make it very difficult for C.J. Stroud, not just when he drops back in coverage, but when he comes blitzing off the edge and he's hard to account for. So, yeah, I think that group of guys can get it done. It is no doubt going to be their biggest test of the season, but I think they're ready for it, and I think that they're going to play. I think they're going to play well. Listen, they will give up some big plays. There's no doubt that Ohio State offense is too good to not give up a couple big plays here and there. But by and large, I think overall they get the job done.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think of that trio, you probably got to bank 2 touchdowns out of that group, out of Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming. I know he hasn't lived up to the billing of the number 1 wide receiver that he was coming out of high school, but he's still a specimen. They got Cade Stover too. I mean, he's a big body tight end that can run up the seam. He makes guys wish they didn't try to tackle him. They're going to get a couple scores through the air. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You've got to limit it the best you can. You can't get burnt. You can't do it repeatedly. You got to mix up the coverages. You got to bring a Mikey Sainristil on a blitz here and there. You got to mix up what you're doing up front to make the job easier on those guys in the back. I'm with you. I think they're as equipped as they have been in a long time to handle it. It's a different animal, though, dude. They've got some studs on the outside there, and they use them. What a concept, right? They wing it around. They let C.J. Stroud throw it, and those guys make a lot of plays. But that's going to be a hell of a battle between those 2 position groups, man. I just hope Michigan is ready and knows exactly what they're doing, plays assignment football, and gets some pressure on the quarterback, because that's going to make a big difference.
No doubt. Let's stick with the defense here. We talked about him a little bit earlier. We just obviously referenced the secondary, but up front, how big of a loss is it if Mike Morris, Michigan's sack leader, if he can't go on Saturday? how big of an impact is that on the Michigan defense? Do they have guys like Iabioki and Jalen Harrell? I mean, are you confident with who they've got to fill those spots? Or do you think if Mike Morris isn't able to go, that is a huge, huge negative for that Michigan defensive front?
I'm actually very confident. I mean, like, okay, Mike Morris is leading the team in sacks. It's not like he's got 14. He's got got like 6 or 7, I think. It's not not turning my nose up at 6 or 7 sacks, but it's not like last year where if you lost Aiden Hutchinson or something. It's a little different. This is, the no-star defense they've called it all year. Okay, Mike Morris is out. That sucks. He's made a lot of plays this year, but now Iabioki plays 40 snaps instead of 19. Now Taylor Upshaw can come in there a little bit more and be fresh and get after the quarterback a little bit. Now you mix in some more exotic blitzes with Junior Colson or Mike Barrett or Mike Sainer still. I think you'd rather have – it's just like what I just said with all the injured guys. You'd rather have them than not. But I think the way that the defense is built, how Jesse Minter has used all these different guys all year long, it's survivable. It's survivable if you're down a guy like Mike Morris. He's valuable. He's a presence. He's got the most size of anybody on the biggest combination of length, beef, size, athleticism. He's got all of that on a higher level than anybody else. That's why he's got the highest draft grade of anybody on the team, according to Todd McShay. They can survive a game without Mike Morris, even against a team like Ohio State. I truly believe that.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't want it to sound negative because Mike Morris
not at all.
Is such a big part of the defense. We know how important he is, not just in terms of what he's capable of on the field, but his leadership and who he is as a person and what that means on the field. But I'll be honest, man, with what I could see with him running down the tunnel and the amount of limp that he had, I struggle to see a scenario where he is going to be able to go on Saturday. And even if he is able to go, I'm not sure he's going to be anywhere close to 100%. And so, yeah, it's certainly a loss, but there's no doubt. I mean, you've got Braden McGregor, you got Taylor Upshaw, you've got other guys who can come in and be serviceable. It's not going to be as detrimental to the team, for instance, if they're down Blake Corum and he can't go. And so you'd obviously love to have Mike Morris as a part of it, but if he can't go, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world for that Michigan defense.
I didn't even mention Braden McGregor. He's the guy who stepped in and started in place of Mike Morris last week. So, yeah, there are guys. You'd rather have Mike Morris than not, but I do think there are guys who can step it up. And, yeah, a guy like Amazi Smith, a guy like – dude, Mason Graham's been a revelation for
Mason Graham, yes.
He's been unbelievable. Different position, different guy doing different things, but you've got different guys stepping up. Jesse Minter will use guys in a way to cover up holes and to fill gaps and, mask and Band-Aid the weaknesses a little bit. But, I mean, yeah, like you said, I don't know, dude. I don't know if Mike Morris is going to be able to go. If I had to guess based on what I saw, I would guess not. But we'll see. We will see what can happen in a week. We don't even know what his injury is. I mean, first of all, but just watching him move around out there a little bit, it didn't look awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I wish both teams were just like completely healthy. Just get after it. Just see what this really looks like. But it doesn't look like we're going to get that. All right, my last question, Chris. We've talked about this before, probably at the end of last year, certainly before this season started. Once Michigan got off to a good start. And now the reality of it is here. Michigan sitting at 11-0 with the possibility of going 12-0, the chance of beating Ohio State 2 times in a row, the chance of winning a Big Ten title 2 times in a row, going to the playoff. All of that, dude, all of that. What would that mean? Do you now start throwing around the elite word with Michigan after doing this 2 years in a row?
Yeah, and I think that guys like you and I have been reserved in terms of like wanting to give them too much credit for having one good season. Now, obviously, year number 2, compared to 2021 has been pretty solid. Already off to an 11-0 start. I say already like it just happened, but an 11-0 start going into that final game with Columbus. Skriniar coming through again, going into that final game undefeated with a chance, and all of it is on the table again. I just think if Michigan is who we want them to be, then you go down to Columbus and you win, and you go and you get yourself to Indy 2 years in a row. And to me, that speaks to, a team that has finally reached that elite status, because at that point, Michigan's going to be back in the college football playoff. If they go to Indy, they're winning that game. They're in the college football playoff. I have zero doubts about that. But, elite teams do elite things, and it would be pretty damn elite for Michigan to go down to Columbus and win for the first time since the year 2000. So I'm reserving judgment, but even so, man, even if they stumble and they trip in Columbus, I mean, how, I don't know how I'll feel about the season with 11 wins and ending it with a loss in Columbus. I mean, I just feel like it will it'll really take a lot of the wind out of the sails. I'll need a week or two to process everything and determine how I feel about what this program is, and depending on what that looks like. So, yeah, I think they got to go down and you got to do it twice. You got to beat the Buckeyes 2 years in a row, and you got to get yourself to Indy 2 years in a row. And if you can do that, I would say it's safe to put Michigan in elite territory.
I'm comfortable with the word too. I mean, like, I'd say it's only 2 times, but 2 times in a row. That Ohio State team has been, one of the playoff regulars. You suddenly have 2 wins against them in a row, one of them in their house. Presumably, I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with this because they got to beat Ohio State first. But then if they get to Indy, I mean, the West has been not good all year. You'd think Michigan would be back-to-back Big Ten champs, back to the playoff. It's time to throw around that E word. I would be totally fine with that.
Well, listen, Michigan has not won back-to-back games against Ohio State since 1999 and 2000.
Wow.
That was the last time it's happened. So, again, you and I in high school, frosted tips, Jinkos, bowl cuts. I mean, all that was going on the last time Michigan won 2 in a row.
Bowl cuts.
A lot has changed since then. So, yeah, I think if Michigan can do that, I'll start to think a little bit differently about what this program is. And, obviously 11-0, 11-1, that's a pretty damn good year. Consolation prize, maybe going to the Rose Bowl, but I would just much rather not have I don't want to confront that. I don't want to confront that reality.
I may have just blown out my microphone saying bowl cuts like that.
I think you may have done that. All right. I got 2 of these left, but I'm going to blaze through them pretty quickly. I mentioned this earlier today in the article I put out about Michigan's passing woes a little bit. J.J. McCarthy's completion percentage over the first 8 weeks was 75%. His completion percentage over the last 3 weeks has dropped to 50%. I mean, that's a sizable drop-off there when you're talking 25% differential. And it's not like the competition has really increased. You're talking, Rutgers, Nebraska, and Illinois. And so what do you attribute that to? Why has his completion percentage dropped as much as it has over the last 3 weeks?
Worse weather. I mean, haven't been very good throwing conditions for the last handful. I don't know, man. It's everything we've talked about over and over again.
Isn't that significant, though? I mean, that's, you go from 75 to 50% over the last 3. That just seems odd.
No Luke Schoonmaker. That's part of it. I guarantee that's part of it.
There you go.
Conditions, no Luke Schoonmaker, and just week after week of clearly not prioritizing it. I mean, like, I don't care what they say. They don't let us see practice, so I'm gonna speculate all I want. Open the doors up and prove me wrong. They don't prioritize it. There's no way. There's no way that they do, even during practice. So that's what I would say. Lack of prioritizing the passing game. No Luke Schoonmaker as a massive safety blanket for J.J. McCarthy. And, yeah, cold, rain, wet, snow. I mean, it's not been ideal throwing conditions over the last few.
Yeah, and I don't even have an answer to that. I was genuinely asking why you thought. So I'll just go with your reasoning there because I tend to agree, and I think it really boils down to you just don't do it enough to be efficient. And late in the season, it really comes back to bite you. So the final burning question I have for you, Brandon.
Yes.
And we were talking a little bit about this when we were talking about the outcome of the Michigan-Ohio State game and what it means. Given the fact that LSU, Alabama, and Tennessee all have 2 losses, at this point, what do you think the likelihood is that a 1-loss Big Ten team can still make the playoff? 0.
They've just shown. I mean, back to Heather Dinich, and they've just put so much emphasis on the non-conference schedule that it's 0. I mean, Michigan was at number 5 in the first rankings only because of the non-conference schedule.
So you think a 2-loss SEC team has a better shot than a 1-loss Big Ten team?
Yes.
It's interesting.
A two-loss. So who's even in that?
So you're talking Georgia, TCU. You know, LSU, Alabama, and Tennessee all have 2 losses.
2 losses. It won't be Tennessee. You cannot get your ass beat by Carolina like that. So they're
exactly
done.
Tennessee's done. So you basically got Bama and LSU.
And it would have to be so. Actually, no. It's only LSU, right? Only LSU can even have that chance because Alabama already can't play in the SEC championship.
That's correct. Correct.
So if LSU wins the SEC with 2 losses, I mean, like, I think that is a valid discussion. Like, I get it. They've got 1 more loss. It would obviously be to who did they lose to? They lost to. They got
LSU?
trucked by Tennessee in LSU. So dude, that's such a tough discussion. I personally think you could pound the drum and make an argument for Michigan to get in. I just think the precedent, or whoever it is, if it's Michigan with the loss or Ohio State with the loss, I just think that they've set the tone, they've set the precedent for it not happening. It's not going to happen. I just don't think there's any way it can happen.
Yeah, I've seen it in the comments that, if it's a 1-loss Ohio State team, chances are good. If it's a 1-loss Michigan team, the chances are pretty much non-existent. And that's where I'm kind of at. I think if Michigan goes down and beats Ohio State in Columbus, but it's a close game, I could still see a scenario where the Buckeyes sneak into the playoff. But I think it's further confirmation that, and I know it's happening. It's coming. 2026 is when the expansion is supposed to happen to 12 teams. I believe it's 2026 is when that happens.
Like that though, but yeah, that's
so. I mean, this is just further confirmation. You've got really, really good teams that are playing games late in the year. You can only put 4 in the college football playoff, but I think this year, probably more so than any other year, there's going to be more than 4 teams that are deserving at a shot of a national championship, and they're just not going to get it.
You see other people in the comments too mentioning a potential 1-loss Clemson or a 1-loss USC if they win out.
Yeah,
you're talking about conference champions with 1 loss, or a conference champion with 2 losses in LSU, who would have beaten literally the best teams in the country. I just don't think there's a path. I don't think there's a path for Michigan or Ohio State to get in, because at that point you would pretty much be saying, well, the only team that team lost to was like the only good team they played, whether it's Michigan or Ohio State who loses. I just don't think there's much of an argument, which sucks, but that is what it is. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's not enough quality wins when you look back at it, even though Penn State's like creeping up into like top 10 territory at this point, but still it doesn't seem like it's going to be doable for whoever loses. So there you go. Burning cues out the door.
Ooh.
Well, it's about that time, Chris.
It is about that time. It is.
Hour and 17 in, 8:20 Monday Night Football about to start.
Yep.
I'm excited about the week, dude. Wednesday night we will be back. Obviously, it'll be a regular show. It'll be fan-led questions. Bring all that you've got. Friday we'll be back at it from here. We actually just kind of laid the groundwork for that. We're going to be here. It's going to be an early departure on Saturday. Get out to Columbus, cover the game, do what we do, come back, Wolverine State. It'll be a long day, but we'll be ready to roll. Sandwiched in there is Thanksgiving for everybody. Hopefully everybody's got a phenomenal plan ahead with family, friends, food, and football. The 4 Fs, dude. It makes your life better.
It really does. It really does.
It makes your life better. So,
God damn, I need that win on Saturday. It's going to be a long day on Saturday. It's going to make it a lot easier to get through it with a W. I can tell you that. I need the win on Saturday. I need it.
You ain't lying, dude. If Michigan loses, do we speak on the way home?
Well, yeah, we have. Oh, you mean do we talk to each other?
Yeah. We're just like I don't just drive. I don't want to talk, dude. Damn it.
Nah, that's not happening. Dubs in Columbus.
All right. Well, we'll do the Happy Thanksgiving and all the mushy gushy stuff on Wednesday night. Bring your questions. Fan led Wednesday, 7:00. We will be back. Take care, everybody.